The topic that keeps on giving is one Minnesota Vikings quarterback, Mr. Sammy Dimes, Mr. Sammy Do-It-All, Mr. Sam Darts. Minnesota Vikings are 4-0. And here's a statistic. Sam Darnold is now in the company of Mr. Patty Mahomes. They are the only quarterbacks to have a 4-0 record and throw 10-plus touchdowns in their first 4 starts with a team since 2000. So Sam Darnold delivers again, another victory. Jacob, your thoughts from an offensive coordinator's perspective on Sam Darnold's performance against the Green Bay Packers?
Yeah, he's been nearly flawless. The only mistake he made today was that fumble, the interception. He threw it to a place that was going to be really hard to get. We kind of talked about it on the last pod. The corner didn't even drag his toes. His feet were up in the air by the time he actually controlled it. I don't hate that throw at all. The fumble one hurts. It looks like he should have got rid of the ball, and he kind of questioned himself and let the pressure get to him. But no, he's been slippery in the pocket. He's been hitting accurate throws when he needs them. Again, when things got tight, he was able to lead a field goal drive and hit a few big throws to seal the game for us. I'm just looking now. Obviously, this week is not updated yet, but he's still at the moment in the lead. Leads the NFL in passing touchdowns. 3 interceptions. 3 interceptions. He's right. A lot of guys are in that same kind of category. You got Dak and Stroud and Goff, and Mahomes has thrown 4 before this week, and he actually threw one already today. So, that part doesn't bother me. The only thing is QB rating. Not, Josh Allen's higher, but he's behind guys like Tyrod Taylor, Stephon Diggs,
Davis Mills, maybe.
The Lions punter Jack Fox is 1 for 1 for 17 yards. So there's some room for improvement there. But
that's hilarious. Let's take a look at this.
Malik Willis is higher. So just saying.
Maybe the Packers should have considered playing him instead.
That might not have been. It honestly wouldn't have been a terrible idea, probably, the way the Vikings were playing, to try Malik Willis and St. But no, Darnold's been everything you wanted him to be so far, and it's been fun to watch.
Well, let's take a look at this interception, because we've talked about it a couple of times. And let's just take a look at this. Look at that. Okay, bobbling the ball. Bobble. Still doesn't have it. Still doesn't have it. Gets it. He's got it. He's got it. What is touching the ground besides his towel? This is the worst call that I could have ever seen. And the guys on TV were just like dumbfounded by this call. Like, where in the right mind of these officials is this an interception? Still doesn't have the ball. It's bobbling it. Bobble. Hey, got it.
And his elbow's already on the out of bounds.
It's on the ground. It's like, oh my gosh, I still can't believe that. That's a big play in the game.
And it's one thing if that was the offensive guy and you manage to somehow rush up and run a play before the other team can see it, or there's situations where that might be possible, but they stopped and reviewed it. That's what makes it disappointing.
They review every turnover play,
right? No matter what. So they looked at it and then said, "Yep, he's good." That's what is mind blowing about it.
I wish I could go inside the mind of officials on plays like that. Like, where are they looking? And I'm not saying this as a biased Minnesota Vikings fan.
No.
Right? Some podcasts will go out there and be so homerific that, anything that is against their team is always bad. But looking at this from the objective perspective, that is not an interception. But going on Sam Darnold's performance, 3 touchdowns, that 1 interception, the fumble that really reignited the momentum from the Packers and made it into a ball game. But what really stands out to me, and we'll get to more in a little bit, but what really stands out to me is Sam Darnold's continued pocket awareness / elusiveness. He obviously had the strip sack fumble, which we talked about wasn't good. But earlier in the game, there was situations where it looked like he was going to get sacked. And when Kirk Cousins gets in those situations, he kind of Tom Brady's it. Just kind of falls over because he doesn't want to fumble the ball, and he just can't quite take a hit.
He doesn't
Sam
want
Darnold
to. He ducks it. Yeah.
right. He just kind of
Cousins
falls
goes
before
down.
he's even tackled, like the Tom Brady. Tom Brady would do that all the time. And Sam Darnold holds onto the ball with two hands. He avoids the rush, goes out to his left, and then he scrambles. Like, you look at his rushing yards in this game, he had 7 carries for 15 yards. And he had a couple of carries that were like 8, 9 yards. So that was his longest carry in this game was 12 yards. That's pretty legit. And I think it really helps the Minnesota Vikings offensive line in those situations.
Yeah, and granted, our line seems to be blocking quite well too. I mean, I think Darnold's been sacked 8 or 9 times now in the season, which is like middle of the pack or something like that. It's nothing crazy, but it's not the worst, right? He's not like Caleb Williams right now, or some of these other teams where it's like run for your life because we can't stop anybody. But no, he has been. It's nice that he's not a Jalen Hurts or an Allen or a Lamar or whatever, extending plays like to that extent, but he is able to actually extend plays just enough to look, and he's looking downfield too. I mean, that's the other thing. He's extending plays and making throws out of them as well, not just scrambling for yards. Cousins, if the pocket collapsed, it was getting harder and harder for him to be kind of wiggly in his old age, and he's just slowing down. So
totally. So Sam Darnold gives the Minnesota Vikings another element of offense by being able to make plays and keep plays alive by doing that. The other part of Sam Darnold's game that stuck out to me, 20 for 28, 275 yards, 9.8 average. He had a couple of nice third down conversions as well, where it's like 3rd and 14. And sometimes you see a quarterback just dump the ball off to a running back, get 7, 8 yards, punt the ball away. I saw that. But the biggest thing that stood out to me, besides the pocket elusiveness, was his clutch drive to basically wrap up the game, kick the game-winning field goal, put the Packers out of their misery, and basically steal the game for the Vikings. Your thoughts on Sam Darnold's clutch performance?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. He's done it twice now, right? One was a home game against a much, much better opponent. That Jalen Naylor throw, I still think, will be the best throw he makes all season long. Putting it in that tight window, that back shoulder is essentially like double covered. That is a pro throw. I mean, that takes
unbelievable.
That takes some cojones. But this one was different, right? This one you had the lead the whole time, and all of a sudden all the momentum's on the other side, and you just made a turnover to bring the other team back into the game, and to be able to, again, without a whole lot of close game reps in his life, able to, in a hostile environment, go down the field and get the essentially game sealing field goal, right, to make it a 2-score game. It was pretty fun to watch.
At what point in time do we actually consider Sam Darnold to be in the running for MVP?
They made, was it at halftime? I think it was at halftime. I think when they were showing the stat, or like doing the going over the highlights of all the games. One of the guys on CBS said, like, MVP candidate Sam Darnold? Well, we got a ways to go, but they're up to 28-7, blah blah blah. Like, so he even said it. So I mean, it's not. I mean, you're 4 weeks in, right? One game is an anomaly. 2 games could be luck. You're at 4 games now, right? So now, is he going to keep exactly this going the entire season? You would think not, probably, right? Probably not.
We would think not, right?
But the fact that he's up to, let's see, I'm just trying to look it up right now, a whole bunch of different sports books, but he's somewhere in the 4th or 5th highest, or I should say, like, highest odds, right? So he's now like the 4th betting favorite, depending on what website you look at, or a lot
he's
of
in the running for sure. He's being
way,
discussed. He's not being overlooked anymore,
right? And then, I mean, if you look at it, he's behind guys. It's like, for example, if you go to, let's see here. If you go to BetMGM, it's Allen 1, Mahomes 2, Darnold 3. You know what I mean?
Sense.
And there's other sites that have it different. Like FanDuel has him a lot lower. He's more like 7th or 8th or something like that.
Right.
But the point being, he's behind the cream of the crop of the NFL, and he's right up there with them. So, I mean,
and Josh Allen is
Oh, sorry, go
going to
ahead.
be the favorite to win MVP right now, just because he hasn't won yet. The Buffalo Bills are undefeated, just as the Minnesota Vikings are. So we'll kind of see how that progresses. But it seems like it's Josh Allen's right now. But you're going to ask a question?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, what do you think Kevin O'Connell's thinking as this goes along, right? So him and Kwesi, they meet in the offseason. They know that they're going to let Cousins go. They know they want to draft a quarterback. And in the meantime, they signed Darnold, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would assume if you sat them down and talked to them, they would say Sam Darnold is better than we ever could have charted or predicted or planned for.
For sure.
Even, I mean, they wouldn't say that, I'm sure, in
publicly, right? But they would
there's
also
no way that
say
they
that they could.
anticipated this kind of start.
Right? They'd also say that there's something to get out of Sam Darnold, but this is probably blowing away their expectations.
Yes. Yeah. It's impossible to believe. That's what it is. It feels like it's impossible to believe.
Yeah. He is playing the best football of his career, without a doubt. And through 4 weeks of the season, next week it's the Jets in London.
Yep.
5-0 before the bye week.
Again,
as you enter the bye week.
The Jets just lost to the Broncos, I believe, right on they missed a game-winning field goal.
Yeah. They didn't score a single touchdown in that game.
No touchdown. It was 10-9.
Bo Nix, did you see his stats in that game?
At halftime, he had -7 yards, which first of all, you're like, okay, that's impossible.
No regard for human life.
So, -7 yards, you're like, that's impossible, right? I believe, you'd have to look this up, but he was something like 7 for 15 with -7 yards.
Yes, he was.
So it's not even like, I get how
I saw it.
maybe you're you're 1 for 1 with -7 yards if you're an option quarterback team in college football or something weird, right?
Right.
To complete 7 passes and still be negative yards.
And still somehow win the game.
And then win the game, yeah. Because I looked at, Cortland Sutton had like 60 yards at some point in the early fourth quarter. Sutton had 60 yards, and then it was like 0, 0, -3, -2, -4. Like, it was, And then again, they still beat a team that was supposed to be kind of AFC contender-ish. The Jets were supposed to be kind of up there as, one of the favorites. Maybe not the favorite, obviously, but like top 4 or 5 or 6 in the AFC.
What a game. I felt like the Minnesota Vikings game lasted forever.
It did, yeah.
Finished at 3:30. Challenge here, challenge there, instant replay here, turnover, punt, score. Yeah. Just like everything that could have taken forever in this game took forever. And it finally finished up before the 3:00 window games finished up. And but hey, they're 4-0. Sam, I am number 3 in the MVP projections or bets, and hopefully they can keep it going next week against the Jets. But as we continue to react to Sam Darnold, the first thing that I think comes to everybody's mind is unbelievable.
Well, and even this is what you got to think about too. This is less about Darnold specifically, more about the Vikings, but starting out 4-0, if the Vikings go 7-6 to end, right, or even 6-7,
right,
you're a above 500 team no matter what at that point, right? If you're 10-7, you're probably in the playoffs. If you go 7-6 the rest of the year, you're 11 win team that maybe is winning the division, right? So even just going 8-5 at that point puts you almost guaranteed to win the division. So that's the other thing too, is like they don't have to sustain this level of play. Like,
but as soon as they don't, and eventually they're not going to.
That's what I was getting out, yes. To warn the fans, right? Like, we are in a great spot. So if they do lose to the New York Jets, or, they come back from the bye and play the Lions and the Lions beat them or whatever, it's okay.
Right. No, it's not. Fire the coach. What happened to his play calling ability, and what happened to giving Sam Darnold everything?
Maybe we should get Rocco Baldelli to coach the Vikings. I guess he'll be available, I heard. I read that he's going to be back for next year.
Yeah, I read that too. The Vikings saved a weekend of torment for Minnesota's fans this weekend with the Twins encapsulating a season-ending collapse.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Yeah, the Gophers being the Gophers and having, some unforced turnovers in the first half versus Michigan, and then getting screwed by the officials late in that game. Minnesota Timberwolves trading Karl Anthony Towns. You can feel one way or another about it, but I think it's
weird
funny
Minnesota
real quick.
Weekend, yeah.
It's a weird weekend. This one thing. Fans have been, talking about trade Towns. I can't stand him. Get his butt out of here. And then as soon as they trade him, I'm kind of sad that Towns is gone. Like, why did they trade him? What are we doing here?
Yeah, the two things. One, we got to be ready for the cat glow up. If he's decent at all, now that he's with the Knicks, it's going to be beloved by the national media. And then two, it made me laugh. I mean, not that I watch a lot of Knicks games, but Randall's been a tough player, right? The last couple of years when Brunson came in, it was the guy. Like, a lot of reports about Randall's attitude and stuff and the way he plays. And if someone was like, if you thought you didn't like Karl Anthony Towns, be prepared to hate Julius Randle.
That's what I'm thinking too. Like, I don't think we're gonna like Julius Randle. He's a bulldog, right? That's what he's kind of known for, is bulldoggy. But like, I don't know if Minnesota Vikings fans are gonna love it. So
yeah, he's gonna have to change his attitude a little bit. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I might be wrong in this, but I think that Karl Anthony Towns did not have a single technical foul last year for the Timberwolves.
Oh,
so he kind of changed his attitude a little bit with the officials.
He did. Last year he was a lot better. He still did some
Yeah.
He has such an expressive face. But
yeah, he does.
That was, I guess, for the podcast listeners, we were making cat faces.
YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast on YouTube.
Yeah.
Go to the YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, anyway, it'll be interesting. We'll have to do a Wolves pod later.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
The only bummer that I feel bad about is the dude's here for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like they did not tell him.
Right.
Like, it blindsided him. And
Totally.
I sure as heck hope with all my life that they cleared it with Ant before they did it. Because that's all that matters for the franchise at this point is Ant happy?
But can you? Because then he's going to tell Cat, and then Cat's team's going to leak it out, and you got to be careful with these things.
You do, but you got to ask him in a way like, hey, if we pursue a trade for Cat,
right.
Are you going to be upset by it if we get what we think is a great return?
Right. If this is on the table.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because you almost have to, because again, all of a sudden if Ant, because those two were, they were, this went from a Darnold podcast to a little mini Wolves rant, but those two were like boys, like they are, like Ant had his back so hard. It does make me a little nervous that all of a sudden his boys ripped away from him, and now is he going to remember that when the contract, next time the contract comes up? I don't know.
Right. It's a business. Cutthroat business. Yeah. But Jacob, thank you as always for your insights, your analysis coming from the future head coach of whoever you want. I mean, eventually there's going to be a team that gives you a blank check and, write whatever you want inside that. So,
well, we did win a couple games at the middle. We haven't talked middle school football in a while, but we won a couple games. Okay. Last few have not gone as well, though.
Hey.
But we got them when we needed them.
Hey, adversity. Got to face adversity. Every team faces it. No one goes undefeated.
No, and some of us face a lot more adversity than others.
Thank you as always for your time.